Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and we're gonna do something a little bit different today. As you can probably see, we are not playing Doom today. Oh, and by the way, I've got my good pal Klaesick here with me. How you doing, my friend?
I am doing well today, and I see we have a particularly not Doom game, which means this channel sucks and I'm unsubscribing immediately.
Oh no, well, that's okay. We can't be shooting guns and running around killing imps and Hell Knights all the time, because as fun as that is, every now and then we just need something light and happy. And this is a little mod for Super Mario World, which we both saw and thought was cool, because summer's coming on, the seasons are changing, and just thought it'd be a nice little, pleasant little change of pace. So, what's your preference, Klaesick, autumn or fall?
I prefer, I think I prefer fall. Personally.
Fall.
I like fall.
Fall it
But yeah, we'll be doing more of these non-Doom things, but again, Doom is kind of our A plot, and these games are kind of our B plot, if that makes sense.
Oh, it's already a good time. I'm already happy.
I love the music in this. I love the art.
Man, it's so relaxing. I was playing a little bit of this just to kind of like get my Mario game on before we shit. I'm also not very good, just so you know. Before we start recording, and man, it's so relaxing. It's just such a nice, like, pleasant, like, thing to play. Which I love Doom, but Doom has the perchance to be kind of like dark and grim. I mean, it's hell invading Earth.
I call it grungy. I think that's the best aesthetic.
Oh, sure.
Maybe not grungy as something like Quake or Blood, but like, kind of, atmospheric.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's definitely like Nirvana has a video on this. He had a really great interview series until recently, which he just canceled because it was too much work with his new job, but where he interviewed a lot of like Doom mappers, and he what was I gonna say? But he had a video about like Doom versus Quake, and he made a really good point, which is that Doom is actually like very colorful compared to like Quake and even other like build engine games and so forth. Which is...
That's what I've noticed actually along the way, like, it's very, it doesn't really have like a uniform color like with something like Quake, where you can tell like, that's Quake because it's brown, or...
Oh, sure.
I
mean, it's definitely
Doom
got that...
doesn't really have that,
Oh yeah, it's got,
Maybe gray, but I don't know. It's much more colorful, I'd say.
Well, I mean, it's very... I mean, you can definitely tell when you see a Doom game that it's like definitely like a Doom game based on like the sector graphics and kind of the funky rendering and so forth, and the straight lines and all that. But it's, and of course the pixelated enemies and all that in a semi-three-dimensional environment, which Doom is 3D. Anyone who says otherwise is just trying to troll you.
I hate how the 2.5D thing. I've heard that a lot of the time from people, like, just like, this is a 2.5D shooter. I'm just like, I want to rip your throat out.
Oh my gosh. Hang on, this is supposed to be a happy, non-violent stream, but no, I can understand the anger.
I will kid-friendly rip the ability to speak for you out.
I'll be like, oh wahoo! I'm going to murder you. I'm going to chop out your guts and take your spleen.
Imagine Mario saying Duke Nukem quotes.
I've come
to play with myself.
I've come to chew bubblegum and to kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum. Those alien bastards are going to pay for stealing our chicks. No.
That Bowser bastard is going to pay for stealing our princess.
Perfection. Yeah, this was actually, you and I were talking slightly before we started the level. This is, one of the very first video games I played that actually, not this one specifically, but Mario World, which actually got me into video games when I was, in my early 20s. I actually had not played hardly any video games at all until I got to graduate school, and then just had some more free time as opposed to when I was in college, and downloaded an emulator and played Mario World and Star Fox and a lot of other Super Nintendo stuff, because that's what could run on my 5-year-old MacBook. So yeah, this is a warm, nostalgic, kind of comfy space for me. And who doesn't love Mario?
I remember I played Mario World first on my sister's 3DS, out of all things.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't get as far because I just bounced off other saves, so...
Oh yeah,
it's... Because it didn't really get really far that much. But, you know.
It's definitely like... Well, and what I was going to add to that is like... So, my parents, in my opinion rightfully so, didn't let me have like a system growing up because they knew I'd be like obsessed with it and I'd never get any work done or any like school done, and so my grades would be really bad. I wouldn't go to college, which, right decision on their part. But I do remember one of my few like experiences with video games growing up was we had some neighbors who had an old Super Nintendo, and so this would have been during the N64 and GameCube era, and I think it had been something that their kids had had and they just kept it in their basement, and so whenever I went over to their place, they had a copy of Super Mario World, Super Mario All-Stars, and like, I think Ken Griffey Jr. Presents Major League Baseball, which is actually like a really, really good baseball game. And I just remember playing those on loop, and this was like by far my favorite one just because it was so happy and colorful, but I never even got to the end of World 1 because I was like 4 and 5, and, you know, I hadn't mastered motor skills yet, so I just loved how happy.
My first Mario game, I think, was either New Super Mario Bros. Wii or Mario Kart Wii, both on the Wii, probably sometime in like 2013 or 2014.
Alright.
Yeah, I could never get past like the first castle in the first world because the Wiimote sucked and I was a stupid like 8-year-old. I got very far in Mario Kart Wii, but I accidentally deleted the save.
Oh no.
When I was younger.
I think everyone has done that at some point when they were a kid, and then your older brother or sister comes in and you're like, "What did you do to my save?" And you're like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to."
Yeah, I would like to play those again, but we still have our old Wii, but I'm not sure if we actually still have those games. You know?
Oh, sure. Well, I know...
Maybe I can buy them again? I could just buy them again if they aren't, like, super expensive.
I don't know if the Wii Shop is even still open anymore. I know it was for, like, a really long time.
I mean, like, actually physical copy.
Oh, nice. Cool.
The Wii eShop, I think, closed a little over a few years ago.
Yeah, I know it was open for, like, a long time after the system was done.
I remember, weirdly, my first exposure to Mario was actually Mario Kart Double Dash at my one of my neighbors' houses.
I've heard that's one of the really
like
good
my
ones.
Yeah. I played that for a bit, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is really cool." So my parents got Mario Kart Wii, and me and my sister were super confused. We were like, "What? This isn't the same game." Because it was, I think they literally just used like a GameCube, like actual GameCube disc, because we can like backwards compatibility with the GameCube. So.
Oh sure, yeah. I mean, the Wii and the GameCube are basically like very similar in terms of like specs and like how the system ran. I think they had the Wii was like a modified version of the GameCube engine, so there was a lot of cross compatibility between the two. It is really funky looking.
What sucks is it hasn't done more of that, I think, especially with like the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 3, for example. That really irked me and my dad because there's a lot of good games on PlayStation 3 that we can't play on PS4 or PS5 like at all.
Oh sure.
Yeah, I know it can play PS4 games, but it can't play PS3 games, and that kind of makes me a bit agitated.
That's why as an adult I've never bought like a game system, just because like first of all, it seems like some companies might be investing in backwards compatibility, but like, I don't know. With a PC, you have like built-in like consistent backwards compatibility with any game, and like modding to boot too, which is like really cool in my opinion. And usually the exclusives, if you're willing to wait a few years on like PlayStation or Xbox, will eventually come to PC. So like,
we got Spider-Man on PC, we got Last of Us on PC. I'm kind of glad they are on consoles because one, I already have those consoles, and two, my potato PC probably can't run them very well.
oh sure.
I feel like for me, my main platform for PC would probably be like retro games, like again, like Doom and stuff. And then you have the more modern games like consoles.
Oh sure. Well, and for me, everyone has a different opinion, of course, but to me there's like a charming... Now, I seem to remember making this mistake with you off camera last time. I thought you could exit the left of the screen, but you just get a coin, so I'm not going to make that mistake again. That was really embarrassing because I like ran to the edge of the screen expecting to run off, and then I just died when like the spike hit me. So it was like, whoops. But no, to me, like, I actually kind of in general just prefer retro games because it's not just like the charm of the simplicity, but you have to extract fun despite like lesser quality graphics and just be more creative with the kind of thing you're trying to create.
I wouldn't even say lesser quality graphics, because if you're talking fair about graphics being realistic, and yeah, these look like piss awful, but like these weren't aiming to be realistic. And I kind of hate realism in video games because I see it as like, it's not realistic, that is bad. Like,
and you and I've talked about this before, again in private, where it's like, even quote-unquote realistic games with all of the super realistic or super like high-def graphics really don't look quote-unquote realistic. They just look higher fidelity. And so it really is about the artistry you're willing to put into your craft.
The most realistic game I've seen is one that just came out, I think on VR. It does look pretty realistic. I've heard a lot of people saying frightfully so, but there are some things that make it very obvious that it's not. I feel like the main thing is that at least advertising or whatever has convinced people that real, quote-unquote, realistic-looking graphics make the world more immersive.
Make the what? They make the what?
They make the game more immersive.
I completely disagree.
I disagree too. That's what I was saying.
I think that,
you don't
like,
need good graphics to be immersive.
I agree wholeheartedly. It's like, it's to me like, okay, so like there is a level of graphical fidelity you need to be properly immersive. So for me, like, a lot of NES games fail to pass that barrier, with a couple exceptions. I can get immersed in Mario 3, I can get immersed in like, yes, got him. I can get immersed in like Final Fantasy 1, but that's really about it. Beyond that, the graphical fidelity and the music quality just isn't there for me personally. However, once you get to the SNES, you have a color palette and a music kind of like ability which is much better, and with that, oh, I can't jump on those guys, bummer. And it reaches a level where you can do a lot with a little. So there is a level, but I think it's a lot lower than I think people give it credit for, if that makes sense.
I personally don't really like 8-bit graphics that much.
Yeah, 16-bit is like the sweet spot for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, my PFP is literally based on like Mario 3 All-Stars, so.
Oh, sure. Also, I don't know where to go. This is a beautiful level, by the way. I love the forest asset.
I like the sunbeams that are like coming through. Maybe spin job?
Oh, okay. That's creative. I like that. This is so cool. Oh, and I got a one-man. Far out. Ooh, and I get to be a big man. I get to be the
Big Mario.
big man on campus. I actually remember watching the Game Grumps for Mario World, and Dan brought up a very good point in that playthrough, which is like Mario's default is small. So does that just mean he's like small all the time, and that's just like how he is? Which is like, you gotta wonder how like that makes for his like relationship with Princess Peach. Like if she's just like always taller than him, I guess.
I feel like Nintendo has made the default like Super Mario.
Yeah.
But I do kind of agree with that, and in a sense, I think I prefer Super Mario, but like Mario being always short is kind of funny.
Oh sure. I just love the idea of him being like, "Ooh, I didn't discover this last time." I just love the idea of him.
He uses the mushrooms for, let's say, other purposes.
I mean, I guess now that the movie's out, which I haven't seen, I need to. He's like not super small. He seems to be like big Mario size, I guess, for like this game's like scale, I guess. So I don't know. I'm trying to think about canon for a Mario game. That's probably where I'm going wrong.
Nintendo's attempts to make canon with Zelda have ended convolutedly, so I think it's a good idea that they are trying with Mario.
Oh, sure, of course.
Doesn't mean I don't like continuity, but
Oh, sure. It is.
I'd love to make that Nintendo like D&D project someday, but
It is pretty funny to like see them try to like bridge the gap with all the Zelda games. Like, oh, the spirit lives on, and a new Link comes every 1,000 years or so, even though Hyrule looks about the same about every 1,000 years, But whatever.
I mean, Breath of the Wild is the only one that really shook it up with like the chic stuff.
That's true. That's true. I need to play that. I've heard that's really good.
Breath of the Wild is very similar to Princess Mononoke in terms of like style and tone, I'd say.
I love Princess
I think I'm leaning even further into that with like the sequel that's coming out.
Yeah, that looks interesting. That game might push me to actually bite the bullet and buy a Switch. It looks really, really cool.
The Switch is an interesting console. I don't think it's like bad, but I don't think it's like the best console ever either.
Yeah, I mean, its whole gimmick is that it's I mean, it's been said so many times by so many people, it's Xbox 360 levels of RAM and memory and hardware. The thing about it, the big sell, so to speak, is that it's on a portable device rather than, just a plug-in home console, so you can play your games anywhere. It's kind of a marriage of Nintendo's like portable and home home console, so to speak.
Which I like, but I don't like everything on it. Like, I don't like Super Mario Odyssey that much.
Yeah.
I really connected with Breath of the Wild for some reason.
I think a lot of people did.
I really like the atmosphere and tone in Breath of the Wild.
What made you love Breath of the Wild but not Mario Odyssey?
Mario Odyssey, I feel like it's kind of like I have a problem with some other open world games. I'm only really there for like the story and trying to play it like a linear game. And once it's done, you have all these collectibles that are just aggravating to collect. And they're just padding out the game.
Yeah,
and they don't really make it fun. Also, Mario doesn't control that well.
Really?
He's very stiff. It doesn't feel like I'm really like running along like I am with Mario 64. Like, Mario 64 genuinely controls better than Mario Odyssey.
That's interesting to hear you say.
I like playing Mario 64 over Odyssey.
No, I mean, I've heard it's a classic. Again, it's one that I've never played, so maybe that will be a future thing that we play. I know there's some really amazing like Mario 64 hacks out there. So,
maybe like Star Road or something.
Oh, why did I do that? Oh, that was a really stupid jump. Shit. Oh well. I've got 3 lives. We'll see how far I get.
Yeah. Also, the kingdoms in Mario Odyssey are like really small. Like, the space feels very limited in terms of exploration.
Yeah, totally.
Whereas, like, with Breath of the Wild, there was kind of a linear-ish open world I tried to do. That sounds weird saying it, but, like, I'll rephrase that. There was sort of, like, a story I did try to do kind of linearly, but I didn't really end up doing that because I have a lot of fun just messing around in the world. I feel like that's the first open world game that really made me, like, mess around in the world as opposed to, like, just trying to play it like a linear game and then, like, skip the open world content once I'm done.
I think you and I had this conversation, or a similar one, back when we played Old Bean Factory. I have a similar relationship with Skyrim. That's a game that, like, there is a main storyline, and there is, like, a main progression, but the whole appeal of that game is not the story. The story itself, I think, is fairly generic. You're like a dragonborn, you have to save the world. You have to do the thing to save the kingdom and all that jazz. And, you know, there is some nuance, there is some twists and turns which are unexpected. But at the end of the day, it is just kind of your standard, you know, hero's journey kind of thing, I guess. But the appeal of it is the open-endedness, and number one, how big the world is, and also how much freedom you have to just go wherever you want and do whatever you want. And they also really focused on the art design with it, and so it's a beautiful game to play as well. Honestly, on days when I can't, like, or weekends when I can't go for a hike, I just go for a run, and then I play Skyrim, just because it's kind of the same effect. It's like taking a hike, just in a fantasy world. And, I mean, I've been playing the same campaign in Skyrim for, like, 3 years, and it's just because, you know, I just love wandering around the world and just stumbling into interesting side quests and interesting people to talk to, so to speak.
Yeah. I feel like the main problem I have with open world games is that why I play them linearly is because they feel like linear games that just have the open world stuck onto them because it's trendy.
Yes.
Rather
absolutely.
than just being like, you know, because I can't really play games unless I have a direction or, like, progression to go. I think I'm in a crowd that much prefers, like, linear games over, like, you know, open world, do whatever you want, because once you just hand me the keys to the world, I don't know what to do.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
It feels kind of pointless.
I'll take a well-crafted linear experience over a crummy open world any day of the week.
Not to say open worlds are, like, inherently bad. It's just I prefer linear games. Like, for example, Ghost of Tsushima, another game I really like. That's also an open world. I don't like it for the open worldness. I much prefer it for its, like, style and combat and story. You know.
Yeah, totally. Also, we've been playing for about half an hour, so we're going to switch over to our other program for the evening. So stay tuned. We've got another little Super Nintendo thing coming your way very soon. And y'all take it easy.
Bye-bye.